I really like the ones where we get out and spike and we're away from everything, and it's probably most of the guys and the folks, I should say. Most of their mindset when they think of the good shifts, it's the ones where we've been out up on a mountain. We've either hiked our way up there, or we've been flown up there and just dropped off and end up being out there for nearly a 14-day gig, or maybe a little bit less. And you're anywhere from just having a good time in the evening, the camaraderie, or being too wiped out to have a good time, or getting your butts kicked during the daytime or evening doing the job. And I think some of those times are the ones that really stick out in your mind, and it's usually the toughest, most miserable, or the fires that almost got you type thing, so to speak, the ones that had a little excitement involved in either fire behavior. One I can think of that really stands out is nearly getting taken out by a flash flood. Spiking out, I can even think of one from last summer that was good. And it was just, we had spent several tough shifts. This was, I don't know if I can mention mountain fire, up towards Palm Springs, above Palm Springs, and Idlewild. And I guess it actually started down towards Idlewild. I forget the actual name of the town, but anyway, yeah, we ended up working the bottom portion of it and hiking all the way up over the top of the mountain, which is a pretty treacherous looking mountain. Not so much from the side we went up, but the other side, it was always the mountain that we always dreaded ending up on, because it's not San Jacinto. It's a pretty big mountain. And anyway, for myself, it was kind of fun, because I got to go up initially to find a place to spike out, and we had to take a helicopter ride. When we were up there, they had a big air show going on, and we'd have to tuck ourselves away, get out of the way of the tankers while they were dropping, and in the meantime try to find a decent place to land where we could hike the crews in and set up a spike camp. And eventually we found a good spot, and we found a decent spot to hike from, which wasn't too far from the Black. And probably the biggest hazards were get clobbered by a tree. But anyway, we got the crews in there and picked up line at a division break, and we stayed up there for, I guess we were up there for about a week. But I ended up getting to go back up there with the why did we leave? We did a section of line, went back down, and then we set up for we may have done another couple shifts down below. Then we went back up on top, and I ended up taking three professional saw teams, and I went as a falling boss up on top, and kind of learned a lesson about watching out with those guys. I had a couple of them that they just wanted to fall the hugest trees there were, even if they weren't the best candidates to come down. But anyway, I worked with the fallers, and we did a lot of good work, and it was fun being with those guys. It was just a different perspective of why you're up there, and the personalities were different from the private sector guys, and they were fun to be with. But eventually I got to meet back up with the crew and spike camp. I spiked out a day. I guess it was only a day with the fallers, and then we met up with the crew the next day. The fallers pretty much did the job that we were after for them, and tied back in with the crew, and they had set up a really cool spike camp. It had everything you could ever want out in a spike camp. The only problem was it was right there where the helicopter was coming in, and broke a bunch of our tents every time it came in, but we dealt with it. And in the end, there were some good tough shifts with it, as far as falling big trees and holding line. It got a little windy once in a while, and the terrain was really steep and rugged in some areas. And there were crews that, I don't know if, coming up from the Palm Springs side, there's a tram, and crews were getting up to a part of the fire from the tram. So we were working towards the crews that were coming from the tram, and we were coming from the backside, I guess you would call it, and working up towards the crews that were coming from the tram. So anyway, once we tied in, which I believe we were up there 5 days spiking. I could be a little bit off on that, but it was somewhere around 5 days. And once we tied in, got the fire was looking pretty good, we ended up hiking out, and we took the tram down, which the thing about this that stood out from this, of course you always come back to reality when you've been out in the woods for a while, and sometimes you look at money and it just doesn't look real. It's like kind of foreign looking. Well, we walked into we walked out of the woods into a fancy mall, and but there were tourists there, people enjoying the environment up there, and we just walked right into the middle of all that, and they were looking at us like we were some kind of space aliens, and I guess we were kind of looking at them that way too a little bit. But we took our crew picture up there at the top, which is a pretty cool view, and it was just one of those things. And I'm sure I've had that feeling several times before, but that was the most recent for me, of something that really makes the job different or exciting, adventurous. You never know how it's going to evolve, and, until you're in the buggies driving back home sometimes. So at any rate, that's a fairly current story I can think of.